What's up, guys? Jeremy Clark here, Phyllis Jackson on X. I'm here with Eli at Devler Eli on X, coming to you from the at Premium FTS Premium Tier Futures Discord. And this is our Sunday weekly trading recap. So, welcome, Eli. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks. Was a tricky week last week.
It was indeed. Um, yeah, I had some ups and downs, a lot of downs actually.
Yeah,
Found it very frustrating. I think that was your first week back from vacation, right?
it was. And while I was on vacation, I wasn't paying attention to how close we were to FOMC and the roll. So I ended up just sticking in sim all week, anyways, because I had been planning on not trading that week for a while. So
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
about 2 weeks off now.
that's good. That's smart. I think it's good to trade sim, and I try to trade sim a lot after I've traded because I kind of I kind of learned from you, to trade the first hour after the open, and lately I've also been trading a lot in the pre-market, so maybe like 5:30 Pacific for that first hour
Yeah,
before the market opens, and then just really trying to like go into sim after that. Um,
yeah, sure. I
and
know it
just
was
go
Mark
ahead.
Mark Douglas talked about that about working with that trader, trying to convince him to only trade for 1 hour at any time during the day, but just for 1 hour, because that's as long as you can, or a person can hold concentration, at
Yeah,
least without.
I really noticed that too. The concentration goes, and then you start making mistakes, and then you start trying to fix your mistakes,
Yeah,
and that just leads down a rabbit hole of losses. And
yeah,
it's so easy to lose quickly when you're trading, Apex. Um, it's something I've been thinking about a lot too. Is it better to go with a larger account? Is it better to go with a smaller account and just do one or two trades and try not to tip that trailing threshold? Um, so I've been playing with both size accounts. Is like I have 150, a 250, and then I have a couple of 50K PAs that trying to build up, and I keep getting stymied, where I'm either breaking even or kind of dipping below the threshold, and not really having big wins like I do in the evaluations. Or I have a big win and then I kind of chip away at it and give it back. Um,
yeah,
so it's been a real struggle. Yeah,
yeah. That's always a tough part. So,
yeah,
and yeah, I struggle with the same thing.
yeah. I
So,
know we've gone back and forth on that quite a bit.
yeah.
Well, that kind of segues into what I wanted to talk about. Do you have any videos or screenshots or anything that you'd like to dive into?
No, I don't have anything this week. Maybe next week once I'm back to trading, I'll
Okay, cool.
read.
I had recorded at the end of the session on Friday. I recorded this fantastic breakout, and I was using the order book imbalance and paired with the volume imbalance, and I had just let it run for 10 minutes and just got lucky, and it just broke out, and it was such a perfect example. And I went to load it up this morning, and I had clipped out the top of the video, which showed the order book imbalance. And so I was like, oh man, and I was going through all my old videos, and I found a couple that had it in there, but nothing dramatic was happening. And I even went so far as I bought the crypto version of Bookmap, and guess what? It's not on there. It's only on the Global Plus edition, and it's on the Thinkorswim edition. So Thinkorswim is not active on the weekends. So I kind of dug around, and I did find one or two videos that has a good example of it from, I think, the Bookmap education. So I was just going to go ahead and show some of that. So let's see if I can pull this up here.
While you're doing that, how has it been trading pre-market?
It's been, I would say it's been rather predictable. The moves are not usually as big, but you know, you can kind of get a feel for if the market's accumulating or distributing, you kind of see it, and then you can play kind of scalp in between the levels. Um, it usually is a little more rangy, and kind of predictable. I feel like price moves a little slower, but it sets up and then it follows through. Whereas, you know, after the open, price moves really fast, and a lot of times you see a setup and it just reverses on you.
Yeah,
So, um, yeah, it's been interesting. I
that's
haven't,
cool.
yeah, I haven't been able to really throw size at it though. I'm trading one or two contracts, and I'd love to get to a point where I can trade, you know, 10 contracts and just take 3 ticks or something, and have that, you know, be really consistent. Um,
Yeah,
but lately, if I do that, it's like 1 tick and I have to get out, or I have to take a scratch, just for safety. So that's what I've been working on. Um,
that's
yeah. Let's see. So I have a section of video here from the Bookmap team, and you'll notice on the top right, the order book says it's plus 10%, and you can see the green bar is larger than the red bar.
mm,
And then you look at the volume, and the volume is actually heavier to the sellers. And so that's a good representation of the imbalance to the downside. Whereas in the past, I would look at the order book, which these are the resting limit orders, and I would look for, you know, if the green side, the bid side was heavier, I would think that would push up. And instead, what's happening here is the sellers are more aggressive. So someone's actually providing buy side liquidity to these aggressive sellers, and that creates that imbalance. And you know, every time I look this up on Bookmap or Ninja Trader, you know, they're kind of say the opposite. They say, you know, you want to look for more sellers on the limit book. Well, this clearly has more buyers, and price is going down. So it can be the opposite. And as Nigel likes to say, everything is contextual, right? So,
yeah,
you know, in a case like this where price has been coming down and you have an imbalance to the buy side, you know, there is a question if those buyers are at some point going to provide support and kind of overwhelm, and if it will stop. And I think that shows at a certain point in this video. I would just notice too that we have a P-shaped session profile and a P-shaped chart profile. So that means dips could be bought. So this might be a retracement or a dip. I'm gonna go ahead and just hit play here. Let me back this up a little bit and just see. Yeah, we'll go ahead and start that. So I'm keeping my eye on the order book imbalance up here. And again, you'll notice it's heavier to the bid side. There's more buyers.
so the volume bar right below that, is that total volume or is that market order
So
volume?
that's the market orders. And that's what's so cool about this indicator. You've got the limit orders on top, and you've got the market orders that are actually going through and getting filled on the bottom. And if those two are, you know, doing the opposite, then that's a pretty clear imbalance. So we got this big chunk of buy side liquidity at 41.55, and you'll notice again the order book is kind of coming in stronger on the bid. So it looks like it's testing this level. It's a strong level. There's a lot of red liquidity there on the heat map. Okay, we got a little bounce, and you notice when it bounced, it's flipping to the red side on the order book. So sellers, there's more sellers. So what I've been doing when I'm trading is I'll look at this order book imbalance and I'll think to myself, you know, green goes down, red goes up. It just to kind of flip my thinking on it. And there you'll notice it's heavier to the green side and the bid side, and we just broke through that 41.55 to the downside. So you've got more resting bids than you do resting offers. And you'll notice there's some polling. I think there was some polling here, or maybe, yeah, right around 41.54 on the heat map that just kind of opened up.
Some what?
On the heat map there, at 41.54, the liquidity got pulled and it just dropped right out.
I see what you mean.
Yeah. But again, the order book itself is showing a buy side imbalance, right? And that's because someone's providing liquidity to these sellers. And then you'll notice the volume is heavier to the sell side. So that's the aggressive sellers that are eating up all these resting bids. And they could be larger too, right? Like you could have a 100 lot bid getting hit by, a 200 lot market order and just pushing right through it.
Yeah.
And then at the bottom, I would usually have my cumulative delta. This one has an iceberg and stop indicator, which is one of the premium indicators. So Nigel may have access to that. I don't have access to that right now. But I know he uses the iceberg indicator quite a bit. Okay, so we're getting a little bounce here, and you'll notice the order book is flipping to the offer. It's flipping red.
Yeah, it looked like it went deep red right there, right at the bottom.
Right at the bottom, and you'll see it's kind of growing. It's at about -6 to -11%. And look at all that liquidity on the heat map that's above, all that sell side liquidity.
Yeah.
So there's all the sell side liquidity and prices, moving higher. It's really the exact opposite of how I've been looking at the books for a long time. And, I'm trying to think of ways to translate this to Jigsaw. So he's going into some of the charts here. We're going to just move ahead because I know there's a section where something more dramatic happened. So I'm, again, just keeping my eye on the order book up top. It's pretty balanced right now. Looks like we're at the bottom of the session profile. And there's some buy side liquidity coming in at 41.46. And you'll notice the order book's flipping green and price went right through it. Price dipped. Then you did get a heavier, the books did turn heavy with sellers at the bottom of that, like around 41.43, and it flipped. So I think he's just marking those little zones with the rectangle.
Okay.
So you got heavier sellers on the volume happening. Right now the books look a little bit balanced, but you'll notice it is flipping to the green side as price comes down. And then it turns around. It looks like there's a big block of liquidity at 41.40. Just going to scroll ahead here. So I do think at some point in this video it actually flips, and I'd like to catch what that looks like. Yeah, it does look kind of balanced here. You'll notice it's just kind of like equal on the books and the volume indicator. We got a little heavier on the green side and price dipped.
Do you know what he's doing with these trend lines?
I think he's just marking them. I don't know that he's trading them or if he's looking for. I actually haven't watched this video to be honest. Um, it looks like he's just marking the channels. So I wonder if maybe he's looking for a breakdown here, assuming that that was kind of a retracement. So I'm noticing the books are heavier kind of to the sell side at this little breakdown, which could imply a reversal. And it looks like it's going to come back and test that line again. It's kind of interesting to use the rectangle boxes to chart the channels. Like, I guess, like in a micro, it looks like a 1 minute kind of time frame he's doing.
Mm.
And if I was in this trade or if I was trying to trade here, I probably would not be entering because the order book is just looks totally balanced. So it could kind of go either way.
Mm.
I've seen some red offers, limit orders, and prices going up. And it does look like it's kind of peaking for a second. We got more green on the order books. But it did finally come back and test that channel line. Tempting to just speed it up here, but I'll let this play out for a second. There's this like heavy VPOC down around 41.40, and it's now above it. If it's getting into this low volume area around 41.43, it's either going to get rejected or it's going to push through.
Very something.
Yeah.
Smash.
This looks really balanced right here. Definitely low volume. You can tell from the volume circles. There was kind of a sell-off with that big volume dot. So my thinking is if it were to get above that, there would be more upside, but or that could be the start of where it flips the other way. There's obviously like a larger channel at work, but this hasn't tested the top of the channel either, so of the larger one. I'm just going to scroll this forward and see. Okay, it looks like it's breaking down here. Still very balanced. A little bit of a move to the green on that dip. Now red. Tiny little volume circles. And this would be really tough to predict in terms of the volume. Yeah, I'll be curious to go back and watch this video with sound. Actually, I could probably turn that on.
I believe it is just a larger player who was able to move this market.
I'm going to pause it right there. Look at the volume book. 81% of
Oh man.
sellers right there. So that's interesting. I didn't quite catch what happened. I'm going to back that up just a notch. I think he's going to talk over it,
Quite a
but
bit more. Now, in this instance, it was this seller here that drove this market away. Okay, now there's a stop run in here, but it's mostly, I believe it is just a larger player who was able to move this market. Yeah, see how the stop run happened down here? That gives us some insight, right? 68 stops down here with this little red line here outside of best bid and offer. That's where it transacted here. So, you know, someone that had a lot of lots to sell, well, they sold them. They drove the market lower, hitting stops along the way, and then stops ultimately transacting down here at 41.40. Okay, now that drove the market away from this area up here. Okay, and then we're looking for the continuation and move below here. Now we mentioned that. Okay, so if you're just joining now, this is not a bunch of hooey. Like we mentioned it, we're looking for these areas as potential stops or traps, and then stop runs. So imbalances. All right, so there's a lot of different ways to look at imbalances. It depends. Are you volume imbalance, book imbalance, something else? Cumulative volume, the delta. I mean, one thing that's really nice about Bookmap is, you know, a lot of times the you see in the footprint charts. Look at this player come in. I'll cover the footprint chart in a minute here. One larger player here, about 600 contracts or more, pushing this down. High liquidity here. Now they're getting filled here. This is not a spoof. Okay, order book and balance. All right. Well, yeah, it depends on the. Here's your imbalance right in front of us, right here. Right, it's heavily imbalanced here. All right, now it's the context here we want to read. Okay, so it got the market to trade down into this liquidity here. Look at how buyers are taking this guy on though here. Okay, so they're trading into him. Okay, so it's an imbalance in the order book. There's no question about that. It's just right in front of us. Now he pulled that liquidity. Okay, so now it's a little more in balance. There are a lot of different ways to look at the imbalance in the order book. We can duplicate this order book here. You can look at it. We can configure this here as an aggregate. You can look at imbalances this way, and you can also limit the depth in here. Let's do that, and we can look at kind of an inside market here. Maybe we look at 5 levels instead of 10. Okay, and you can read the top here of the order book here, and you can look for imbalances this way. This is another way. This is the aggregate here, 700 versus 600, right? So it's pretty balanced right now. Or you can just look at the heat map as well. Yeah. Today, RJ, big week here. Obviously, you know, beginning of the month, you get the FOMC, you get the non-farm on the first Friday, typically. So we've got a lot of data coming out, right? But what we started off with was going through the higher time frame here, right? And we knew that this failed on the outside. We saw the momentum coming in on the daily, so we were looking for this to drop and continue on. And then I was looking at this kind of 41 or 43 area here, as a potential, like just a bit of a pullback. I guess we got it a bit, but you can see the momentum here is just continuing on. Our next little level was right here, and then our next little level is in here probably. See how it just kind of slowed down in here. Yeah, or down here, 41.14. Okay, so or 41.05. I mean, you can see what I'm looking at. These little clusters in here, and this kind of back and forth in here, right? And I'm just I want to know what's going to happen at these levels, and I match these levels with liquidity. That's what I want to see, because then I know that there's buyers here. There's buying interest, right? And then that starts to make sense to me. A lot of different ways to read the imbalance in the order book. We have an order book imbalance indicator up here as well. You might want to play around with that. It comes with the Global Plus version of Bookmap. Yeah, it basically makes the imbalance based off of the current and viewable chart range here. So if I zoom in, you're going to see this change, right? You can see the order book imbalance now is heavily skewed, 10, 11, 12%, 15%, because of this liquidity and some of this here.
I'm just going to pause there for a second. So this was something I was going back and forth with Nigel over the weekend and trying to suss out, with the heat map in Bookmap, all of the columns, the order book, the volume profile, the session volume profile, they all respond to whatever time frame you have the chart set to. So if you zoom in on the heat map, you're zooming in on the order book as well, or the order book percent. So it's a little hard to tell. I was curious how many levels the order book is actually looking at, as far as the order book percent indicator up top. I would imagine it's maybe based on the levels that your chart is showing. In this case, it'd be 41.36 to 41.26. That's what I would imagine. I know the one from NinjaTrader was defaulting to just 10 levels, which would be kind of more similar to what you're looking at in the COB column to the left, where he's just got, 5 levels on top and 5 levels on the bottom, which is also kind of looking at the delta of the book, right? It's kind of similar. There's another guy from Bookmap that uses the quotes delta, and we use that a lot in Jigsaw as well. So, just to kind of like summarize what I'm thinking here, when you have a situation where the order book is heavier on the offer, and you see there's more red resting passive orders on the offer side, a lot of times it'll lead to price going up, and that's what's happening right here. And then if you have the secondary confirmation, which is that the volume is actually to the green side, the bid side, that means you're getting more aggressive buyers and they're being supplied liquidity up top. So you will see heavier liquidity up top. But this is like the macro view. And then if you were to look at the quotes delta, for example, or even looking at the volume profile here, what just happened, you'll notice that in these smaller, 5 to 10 levels, there were more buyers. Okay, so this is what I'm trying to wrap my head around. If you're looking at the whole depth, there could be an order book imbalance to the sell side. But if you're looking at, the zoomed in of 5 or 10 levels, you might see on the delta it flipping to the bid side, and that would be those buyers coming in to push it up. And then that would be kind of backed up by the market buyers as well, which is that volume imbalance at top. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I would think probably just most important what time frame you're trading. If you are just doing a really short trade, you could watch those really much tighter imbalances.
Yeah, you can kind of zoom in, right, on the heat map and on the levels, and just kind of hit those levels, kind of target, like in this case, and maybe target 41.34 Looks like there's a 196 lot sitting there. So maybe even like 41.3350. There's a liquidity void right there. That would be, a good target if there is indeed aggressive buying, which you see on the volume imbalance, and someone's supplying liquidity up top. Yeah. I'm just thinking of ways to apply this to Jigsaw, because I use Jigsaw and Bookmap at the same time, and I find, in terms of like the depth, Jigsaw to be, for me visually a lot better. I can adjust the text so it's bigger. I can really zoom in. I kind of have my market depth set to like 10 levels, maybe 12 levels that I'm looking at. So it'd be kind of comparable to that order book column on the left, where he just has 10 levels highlighted. But in Bookmap 2, you can see the full book, which is nice. So you can see in this case, there's almost 200 lots at 41.34. There's 211 at 41.35. So, if you get continuation, both of those levels would likely get hit.
Yeah, I really like you can zoom out in Bookmap.
Yeah.
Be really nice if you could do that in Jigsaw too. See more of the book.
Yeah, I'm surprised they haven't implemented that. That sort of fluid, elastic feel to the heat map is really nice. You can just zoom in and zoom out at will, and the Jigsaw one is a little bit more, bumpy. You have to change the settings, and then it kind of like catches up, and it's choppy. It's visually choppy. So that kind of is what it is. Since we're on that note, I'm gonna pull up another video that I think I have loaded here, just to kind of compare. What's up, guys? Jeremy Clark here. Kill this. Sorry. AK. Get rid of that. Okay. So this would be the zoomed in look, and if I was trying to relay what we were talking about just now, in terms of the imbalance, you can actually see it here. You have 175 at 36.75. You have these several hundred lots at 38 to 37.25, and you just have this one big buy order here at 34.75. So I'm guessing that's probably going to get hit. Looking at the delta, you can see in this, what I have is at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think 5 on top and 5 on the bottom, maybe 6. But you can see the sellers are kind of coming in heavy right there. And so this to me is kind of what we were talking about. In the zoomed in section, you're seeing a heavier book on the ask side. I wish I could see the number at the bottom, the yellow number like we have up here. You can see there's 1,000 lots in this section. There's this big order at 36.25, and again we kind of saw the same thing where it was heavy on the ask and price bounced. This might be flipping to the downside here. I am seeing like a lot of ads on the offer in the quotes delta. So is this a retracement, or is this going to fall off here? I would be so tempted to go short, but based on what we've just been talking about, this might actually be a bounce. Noticing this 140 lot right here at 36. So there's liquidity being provided, and I did go short. I'm probably just going to try to play this for a couple ticks. I'm not sure if this is even going to get filled. It looks like it already didn't. Let's see if we can speed this up a bit. So again, trying to get short. I'm playing off that 150 lot at 36. And believe it or not, I'd actually like to be wrong here, because what I'm sensing is that the offer side is heavier. And what we've been talking about is when that happens, price actually going up. And you can see that's exactly what happened. So I may be able to squeeze a couple ticks out of this, but I wasn't anticipating price to bounce right there, and that's exactly what it did. It was heavy on the offer and it bounced higher. I think I end up getting out of this trade probably at 37. I noticed there's that big 200 lot, 212 lot at 38. And on the delta, noticing the delta is heavier to the offer side. And again, a bounce. You can see on the bids hitting the offer, we just had like 113 at 36.25. And another bounce. We have that 75 right there at 35.50. Just a quick glance, I'm seeing like 100 lot at 37.75, 214 at 38. You know, like I was saying earlier, I would be so convinced, you know, to go short, and then so surprised by these kind of backups. You can see that trade did end up working out. I just want to back that up and see where it actually flipped. I'm looking at the bid side because I want to see those bids get weak right here. It's pretty clear it can take out that 80 at 35, or at least hit it. If that 63 goes. Yeah, so this is interesting. I'm definitely seeing more aggressive buyers coming in. So someone's providing them with liquidity here. Notice that 75 at 35.75, 71 lots at 35.25. I'm sort of banking on 36 failing at that high point on the volume profile and then taking out 35. And that's what you'll see a lot of times with these sideways consolidations, where we're always taught to stay out. You'll see they'll sell 36 and buy 35s, and they'll do it over and over and over. So within a 1 point or 2 point range, like it'll go up to 36, it'll drop down to 35, go up to 36, drop down to 35. Then it'll pull down to 34 and it'll do the reverse. It'll go, you know, they'll buy 34s and they'll sell 35s. They'll buy 34s and sell 35s. And if you're just looking for a breakout and trying to go long or short here, you're just going to get brutalized. You know, I mean, that was a 1, 2, 3, 4, like an 8 tick run right there. It went up to 36.25, 36.50 maybe, and just ran into a wall of sellers. I'm going to try to get short here. I don't remember if this one actually worked or not, but I'm banking on that 100 lot as resistance, which is now kind of, it's right at 36.75, and see if I can get a few more ticks. I'm noticing it's pretty heavy on the offer side, and I'm seeing buyers coming in on the quotes delta. It looks like quotes delta is kind of flipping back and forth. So I could have taken 2 ticks right there. and I probably should have, because you don't want this to back up on you. It backs up so fast. Yeah, and again, it looks heavy on the offer to me, and price is going up. Do you see that? Do you see these 200 lots at 38 and 37.50? Then you have
Yeah,
all these 100 lots, and you look down below, and you've got 60 lots and 70 lots, and price is going up. You know,
yeah, just driving right into that liquidity.
driving right into it on low volume. You know, and I think that's kind of what this order book imbalance indicator and Bookmap is showing us. You know, whether you want to think of it as resistance or them providing liquidity. So right here, we've got 413 offers went through, bids went through, and there was like 270 that hit the offer on the market orders, and it's stalled a bit. It's run into that white liquidity on the left on the heat map. Yeah. So that's kind of like what we've just been talking about, just a different version of it. If I scroll back just a little bit, it's pretty clear to me that the offer side is heavier here. And, you know, the way I've been taught to trade would be to trade in the direction of the liquidity of the volume on the resting orders. And it's really at the mercy of the market orders, which way they want to drive the market. So let's just scroll ahead and see if there's any more. Oh, there's a good drop. Okay, so I'm going to let that play out. Looks like we're hitting liquidity at 56.38. You notice the high point on the volume profile. There's 190 lots right there. It does look heavier on the ask. There's a bunch of buyers at 36.25, 120, 123. And you notice, you know, on the spread, it looks heavy to the buy side, or it did a second ago. Again, it does. You've seen like 60 lots on the bid versus 20 to 30 on the offer. It's kind of caught between these two here. Yeah, this is so interesting because I'm really seeing when it starts to move, a lot of times there's more bids underneath. Obviously right here they're getting pulled, so that's a little different, but that was a nice drop down to 34, back up to 35. I really think these market makers and these people using these scalping techniques are they're just trading for 1 point, you know. They're making price at 35 and they're buying a point above or a point below. You'll see that go on for hours and hours sometimes, you know, especially like after all the energy that happens the first hour or so, and then it'll just kind of go sideways and do this. Okay, so here's another one. It looks like I got short. I think based off that absorption right there at 39. So I probably should have been targeting 38. Looks like I got in late on this one, and I missed it. It's kind of, I'm not sure if this is gonna, yeah, this is going higher. Again, the offer side looks heavier to me than the bid side, and yet the bids keep fighting back. One of the ways I play this, you know, in the past is just to look at the momentum trails and look at the direction, you know, and just kind of guess. But I feel like this has given me some insight as to when and how to target liquidity and why so many of these trades, you know, go reverse on me. You know. So here I'm trying to flip, right? But well, it looks like I went pretty heavy. I'm trying to make, this is like a Hail Mary trying to make up some money. But I I think 39 is value here, and I don't know if they're going to let it go as high as 40. They're going to push it back probably to 38. So I could take a significant loss here if I don't get out.
It always sucks rewatching those
Yeah.
mistakes, at least for me.
Oh, no, totally. But what's interesting? I'm noticing it looks lighter on the limit on the offer right there on that dip than it did on the bid. The bids looked heavier. The price came down. And I think that we can exploit that. Yeah, it looks like I'm trying to get out with like maybe a break even or a 50 or something. This is just hopium. Just based on the volume profile, I would think 38 was where value was most recently, and the price is going to come back down to that. There's a little high point at 40, which is where I have my last take profit.
The volume profiles drops out right up there too.
Yeah.
You'd have to get a full breakout too.
Yeah. And you'll notice, yeah, that went right to 38, right to 37, which are both those high points. So I think maybe here I'm thinking, okay, I've got this figured out. Their value is 38, so we're going to buy 37s and sell 38s. So it went pretty heavy there with a four lot. It's almost this, I'm trying the same technique here, and I'm not sure if this is going to work either. Yeah, it looks like momentum just kicked into the downside. So yeah, that was like $400 loss. So are they buying 37s and selling 38s still, or is the momentum now to the downside? And you'll see it flip. I think I'm getting super frustrated. I think I remember recording this video and going, I'm never going to show this to anyone. I did manage to get into a semi-decent trade with 2 lots there. And a lot of times what happens to me, maybe you have this experience too, where you have a target, I'm aiming for 33, and you get about plus 200 in profit, which is what? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. So it's about 16, I guess it'd be about 8 ticks. So you get about 8 to 10 ticks out of it, and it stalls out on you. It goes back the other way, and you get back your profit. And it's not. Go ahead.
Oh, for me, I have the opposite, where I think I get out a little too early a lot of times. That's what I try to work on anyways, is holding. Usually I'm out at kind of the first resistance that I get.
I think that's wise. We were watching all those videos with Tom Hogard, and he's so aggressive. If your trade starts to go your way, you add to it, and you add to it, and you add to it. Maybe I just haven't perfected that technique, but a lot of times when I add, I end up just giving back my profit.
Yeah,
So,
it's really hard. His book makes it seem like it's so easy. You'd be stupid not to, but it's way harder than that, I think, to do that well. You bring up your average every time, and then you only need a little bit of a pullback to get rid of the whole trade.
that's kind of like exactly what just happened here. You see, I was up plus 300 in profit, and it just flipped on me. And I think, let's see, that would have been like 11 or 12 ticks in profit. I want to back up and just see where it flipped. So I'd love to, be able to spot these reversals when they take place. this gets down to, I think 35, unless it may have already done that.
Those look like it's struggling to go lower a bit.
Yeah. And you see them refilling like around 36, 36.50. Those 50 lots kind of holding. So that tells me there's buyers there. Okay, now we broke through that. We're at 36.
Got a little bit of a note there on the profile.
Yeah, and it kind of blasted through it. And then we get to this kind of high point, this little hill on the profile. And you see the buyers step in.
There they are.
Yeah. And interestingly, it still looks heavier on the ask to me than it does on the bid side. So you've got low volume buyers that are just pushing this higher.
Yeah, I mean, it's ticking up on 20, 30 ticks. So
yeah,
it seems the sellers really let off too, at least on the limit side.
Yeah. And I think there's so many times where I've been in a trade and I'm looking at the offer side, the ask side going, well, it's heavier, so I should be short. And this is really the exact opposite that. Even now you can see you got these 200 lots up at 42 and 42.50. There's a 300 lot at 42. Prices going up on, 30 lots, 40 lots on the bid. So I think I tried to get long there. And you notice all the volume dots coming in on the left, showing the absorption. So it looks like I may have just bought the top. Another thing I do when I'm trading these, on the heat map at the left, I look at, is it ticking higher than the volume dots or is it ticking lower? So if there's a bunch of volume and prices managing to stay above a volume dot, then that's bullish. If it moves above it and then falls underneath it, like just happened, that to me is, a signal that buyers are getting absorbed here. And this would send us right back down to like value at 38, previous value. There's even a missing volume, a liquidity void that just opened up at 38.25. So right here, buyers look heavier and they got pushed through. Wow. And it did go right back to 38. Now we're pushing back on those previous volume dots on the left, right around 40. I'm really just testing the top so far. So it looks heavier on the ask. What's your guess as to which direction this goes?
I don't know. Seems like the buyers are kind of letting off the gas a bit.
And yet price
Uh,
is rising, huh?
yeah.
Yeah. I really think it's the exact opposite of what we've been taught, on these lower time frames. Someone's providing liquidity and price goes to it. I've had some luck with like doing the opposite of what I think in these situations, or sort of looking at, well, what's the sentiment here? Are people short? Is retail long here? Um, so offer got really heavy there. It did come down. So there's some resistance, but it's still holding above 38, which was that previous value. Notice it's right at the value area high of these gray bars on the volume profile. So that's always a significant level to break through or to fail. You'll get a lot of hesitation at that level and reversals at that level. Another thing I've noticed, so I do have the full data subscription, and you'll still notice that there's not a lot of liquidity above 44.50. So one of the things that I've been noticing is, like, if it's not a trend day and it's not just blowing through all the levels, when price gets this high and it gets near the end of the sort of liquidity supply, the overhead supply, and if it's not breaking out, then it's probably failing here. And I start looking, at the short entries. Now, I don't remember what it was doing this day, if it was trending or if it was, if this was a breakout. So far, it looks like I've been pretty dreadful in this session and wrong quite a bit. So this, could break out. I'm not really sure, but I get real hesitant at the top of the auction vista when there's just no more overhead supply for price to target. Seeing liquidity getting pulled to the downside. Okay, so is this a bear trap? Sure looks like it.
Trying. Yeah, definitely trying.
The offer got real heavy there for a second and price did go down. And I was like, okay, that's how I was taught to look at it. But it rebounded. Again, the red column looks much heavier to me. And this was really before I even dove into the order book imbalance on Bookmap and that whole concept. So me being long here is I'm just guessing. If I do end up being right, it's just purely blind luck and nothing to do with, insight as to what the market's going to do. I think at this point, I'm just trying anything. It really does look like a wall to me on the offer. And they're kind of, kind of fighting back. Looks like selling, 40.50 to buy 39.75. and it's going right into the wall. The value looks like it was kind of established there at 40. We've got a high point on the profile. So my guess is they're going to sell 41s and buy 40s. And that just happened right there. So there's some room to exploit for like 2 or 3 ticks. The issue I keep having with that approach is like sometimes it'll blow past and go like 6 or 7 ticks and in the opposite direction, you know. And if your stop loss isn't in place, all of a sudden you're down, you know, $80, $87, and then, you know, trying to play catch up. But I have periods where I'll play these little 3-tick moves and just I'll have like a crazy like 80% success rate. So
does that method work just as well during the pit session as like aftermarket, pre-market?
It does, but during the pit session, it especially the first hour or two, you know, you get a lot more ticks out of it. You kind of have to, you don't just necessarily have to take 2 ticks, but later in the session, you know, my clock here says 10:53, so this might be about 11 a.m. Pacific. You get these sideways moves where it just kind of goes up and down 1 to 2 points. And it's really effective in those. You know, just watching this, I could have been in and out long and short from 41 to 39 back and forth and made a bunch of money rather than just sitting in this trade, you know, hoping for the best.
Okay.
I'm going to go ahead and scroll this forward. Yeah, it looks like I stopped out on that. So let's see what happens when it drops. Doesn't look overly heavy on the offer side on that drop. To me, that was just kind of like a low volume large trader came in and just moved the market. I got frustrated and I left. I don't know if you can see this in the other video, but my face is kind of on top of it. But I just put a stop loss in place. It looks like I had to get out and go somewhere. Anyway, this has been about an hour now, and I feel like I've learned a lot about, you know, seeing when price is heavier on the ask, a lot of times price will actually go up through that liquidity, and versus, you know, the same thing when price is heavy on the bid, a lot of times price will go down, which seems really counterintuitive, and it's something that I'm going to keep studying and see if I can get better at sort of predicting these things that go completely against the way I was taught, the way that you know, I was given to approach this. This is funny. This trade I think goes down to like $700 here, and I'm not at the terminal. I think I got up and went to the bathroom or something, and I have a take profit at 21.25, and I think it kind of bottoms out at 24.25. And I came back and looked at it, and I was so pissed. After taking all those losses, you know, I just gave up on it. But it really, again, it got me thinking. It's like, you know, what was in the books that I missed when it just finally, it looked so balanced and boring that I gave up on it. And that's exactly when the move happened. And those are those moments that I want to start catching and start looking for, and figure out how to get a better heads up on. So,
Absolutely.
yeah. So anyhow, with that, I think that's kind of covered quite a bit of what I wanted to talk about, and hopefully we'll continue this discussion more. Anything else you want to add for the coming week?
No, I don't have anything really. Yeah, thanks for sharing the clip. I think we got a lot out of talking about it too.
Okay, good. Yeah, thanks for your patience going through this with me today, and hopefully we'll get some shorter clips next time that have a little more speed and action. I'm definitely going to go back and record tomorrow a session of the order book imbalance on Bookmap that we can see in a live session on ES. So I think that'll be cool to see how that compares to what we've been talking about today.
Yeah, that sounds great.
All right, cool, man. Well, thanks again. Thanks everyone for tuning in. We do this weekly, usually Sundays, sometimes Mondays. Premium tier futures Discord. You're welcome to join. There should be a link in the comments. If not, hit me up and give us a like, give us a subscribe, and yeah, keep it green.
Have a good one.
All right, you too. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Beats brought to you by the Roland TR8S. And I'm going to do another video on the drums soon, so stay tuned for that. Cheers.